DJ set, dip. Whenever we want that home cooking, we just call it Heatmakerz.
Now I feel like the Heatmakerz, they definitely shaped the Diplomat sound. It's that same spark from the Heatmakerz years ago. People think Heatmakerz is like 2-3 people, and it's really one guy. His name is Rsonist.
Heatmakerz, crack music.
We in the Big Apple, New York City, for another episode of BackTrak, and we're here to see Rsonist from the Heatmakerz. Dipset, baby, you know what's going on. The Big Apple, we here.
Yo, what's the deal, man? It's your boy Rsonist, Heatmakerz in the building. We in my spot in the Diamond District Studios. It's a sign that was given to me by my brother Cam'ron. Told me he had a Dipset poster for me. My last spot that I had in the city was like 3 times the size of this, but I realized I don't really need all that space, man. Panda was recorded in my last spot. Osberger speakers, those are the amps that run it down there. Some congas, KRK-10s. KRK-10s are dope. The Raven touchscreen joints, that's dope. This is what I used to make music on. This is the MPC-X. Actually, on this joint, they sent this to me like when they first made it. If you could see it. Welcome to the Renaissance, Rsonist, which is dope. This is probably one of my favorites, man. El Capo, because I mixed it, I mastered it. It's one of Jim's highest streaming projects to date. The Carter 2, I'm a big fan of Lil Wayne. You know, getting a chance to work with him was dope. Purple Haze, Diplomatic Community. We did 11 records on Diplomatic Community. The Hulk on the wall might seem random, right? But dope artist, his name is Mark Lawrence. And every studio I have, I usually have him do some type of artwork on the walls and all of that. And this one, because I was actually putting it in the studio, because the artwork used to be in like either in the lounge or whatever it was, because I was putting it right in front of me, I wanted something aggressive, so ain't really much more aggressive than the Hulk. For years, anybody that knows Heatmakerz know our slogan been crack music, so you know, it only makes sense to, when you step in, you stepping into the home of crack music, man, so.
The Big Apple, baby, New York City. We're here in the Diamond District. I'm sitting with my man, Rsonist, Heatmakerz, legendary. When I say legendary, that word gets thrown around a lot, but this is legendary shit. And I'm gonna tell you why. From their start and what they were doing with the production, I was doing the same thing in the South. And when the mixtapes between Wayne and Juelz and all these guys were coming up, we was doing the mixtapes, they were doing the beats. I was doing beats, we was doing mixtapes, and it all collided. Which makes this special, we only met each other one time through a mutual friend. But the second time we actually talking on the phone, we doing all this stuff, but now we actually sitting here. Man, I'm happy to be in New York. I don't get a chance to come up there much, man. No more, because they ran me out of this joint. Tell people where you're from originally so we can get into, you know, the background.
Originally, I was born in Jamaica, right? I'm Jamaican. Like, I was born in Jamaica, came here when I was 4 years old, lived in the Bronx. Majority of my life, I mean, when the music started kicking in, I moved around. Like, I was Bronx, Connecticut, Vegas, DC, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was moving around, but Bronx has always been the home base for me, you know what I'm saying?
So what part of Bronx?
The Northeast Bronx, by like Gun Hill, Boston Road area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where you learned production, or were you doing something first? Most people be like, yo, I was a DJ first, I rapped first.
I was a DJ first.
Okay.
But I was a DJ for a short period of time, maybe like, I mean, I'm still a DJ. Let me not even say for a short period of time, but before I moved into production, I was a DJ for like 3 years. You know what I'm saying? I was in Howard and I was DJing different parties at Howard, like at the Ritz. They had a spot called Quigley's back in the day. They had all these different spots I was DJing at, but then I got kicked out of Howard, you know what I'm saying? Got into like a fight out there, got kicked out of Howard. And I didn't know what I was gonna do when I came home. So my homeboy, he was producing, and I borrowed his MP for like 3 days. He had went to Trinidad with his family. I borrowed his MP for like 3 days. I taught myself the basics, made some bullshit beats, and ran into a dude by the name of Todd Terry. He believed in me and bought me like $30,000 worth of equipment. And was just off to the races after that.
That's wild. And when you were making your early beats, like were you working with some guys? Like, I know when I came up, I was working with a couple guys. Like, I was working with Willie the Kid. I was working.
Oh, artist-wise, you mean?
Yeah,
Other producers, artists? Yeah, I was working with a few different artists, but one that people might remember, because he was relatively popular back then, was an artist by the name of Curtains.
You was working
So
with Curtains?
yeah, because
Okay.
here's the crazy thing. I'm Ready was Curtains beat.
Wow.
Yo, they try to box me in a corner for the long no key, lock me in this corner.
But when Curtains got the deal, his manager said some foul shit to me on the phone. And that's my man now, so no, you know, no love lost. And he said some foul shit to me, and I ended up selling it to Dipset.
Wow.
That record was the intro to Curtains album, and it helped get him his first deal.
Wow.
That's just a fun fact.
That's crazy.
And I was working with, this is gonna sound crazy too, but you can fact check all this if you ever run into her, ask her. I was working with Nicki before she even really started to rap. She was an actress in the School of Performing Arts.
Wow.
Right? And she actually learned how to count bars in my mother's basement studio.
She was coming to the Bronx?
Yeah, because she's from Queens.
Nice.
But she would come to the Bronx, and I would do records for her when she was solo, and then when she joined the group with like the 2 or 3 other dudes,
Yeah.
I did a record for her then. But I was around her at the beginning of her journey to become an artist, because she didn't know if she wanted to sing, if she
Right.
wanted to rap. I've been privileged to be around some people that, you know, did great things, went on to do great things.
Word. Shout out to Nicki. That's my dog right there.
Yeah.
How did you meet some of the rappers coming up? Like, were you outside? Like, I know a lot of people, like, there's so many facets of producers. Like, I was one of those producers just ran around playing basketball on the street.
Right.
Did a lot of stuff, but I wasn't involved in nothing crazy.
Right.
How did you meet, like, people? Were you outside? Were you the indoor producer?
No, I was outside, but like everybody I chilled around was like the hustling nigga getting money. Like I wasn't involved in none of that shit, but these were all my niggas.
Right.
So by default, I met this person and that person because they knew these people. You know what I'm saying? The
Gotcha.
first person I ever played beats for was Fat Joe and Big Pun.
Wow.
And the reason I got that connect was because one of my homeboys went to school with, I believe it was either Cuban Link or Triple Cs at the time. He introduced us and we kind of built that relationship, and then I used the same formula for different artists. Like, this dude knows this person. It's like, it's 6 degrees of separation.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you have Jack Harlow. I'm a producer. If I wanted to get to him, I would holler at you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I treated everything like that. So that's kind of how I got to everybody, from the Cam'rons of the world to whether it was Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, whoever it was. I just used the 6 degrees of separation.
Right. What was the first record that you were excited about that you made that really was like, all right? Because I had this moment where I was making beats, not what's happening. I was going through the pain, you know. You don't eat sometimes. Sometimes you got to sleep on somebody's couch. But then, you know, I had a record that clicked.
Right.
Go crazy. That was like, oh, I'm really supposed to be here.
Right.
What was one of those records where
I'm
you
ready.
felt like that was it?
I'm ready.
The Curtains version or the new one?
No, the Dipset version.
Dipset version? Okay.
Yeah, because what happened is and this is how crazy it was. We went to the studio to meet up with Dipset that night. They played I'm Ready. Cam wasn't on it yet. And Cam said, you know what, I'm gonna put a verse on there. Cam puts a verse on the night that I'm there, and the shit is on Flex the next night. So being from New York, getting the Flex stamp was like
Everything.
right. So I remember, I think we were parked up in the Bronx, me and my old partner at the time, my man named Thriller. And Flex is on it. Flex is like, New York City, you're on the highway, make your way to the 3rd lane, because what I'm about to play is, you know how Flex is, he built the whole shit up.
Gas.
Right. He's dropping bombs before he even plays the shit. And if you notice at the beginning of I'm Ready, I put a bomb sound.
Part 1, Diplomats. Heatmakerz, Killer.
It's going down. Fast Lane Part 1, Funk Flex. Diplomats. Yeah.
Come on. Jim Jones, where you at, baby?
So as he's dropping bombs and he starts playing the record, I didn't even know. I'm just like, oh shit. And he played that record about 20 times. I'm sitting in the car and I'm like,
Wow.
I love this feeling too much for it to stop right now. I gotta go crazy. And after that came everything else. You know what I mean? Like, I did 11 records on that album. So after that was the other whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
But it was go time after I heard that, because I was hyped.
Who's the first person you called after that record was happening on Flex?
I was in the car with everybody I needed to call.
Okay.
It was me and my niggas. That's all I needed at that
Call
time.
mom like, Mom, we
Nah,
out
cause
here.
they wouldn't understand. Like I got Jamaican parents. They not
Facts.
understanding that. To them it's
Facts.
like, we are talking about Sangpan radio. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how they look at it. They don't look at it like, oh yo, he just made a big move. That's a big move for him. It's like, yeah, go get a job.
Get a
Go do
job.
something. You know what I'm saying? That's how they look at it. So I understood that at the time. I knew in order for my parents to understand, I had to show up with some other shit, a plaque. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just bought a crib, a car, something
Right.
that was of great value, could understand the whole shit. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
this dude did something special.
Yeah, I had to do the same thing. You know, mom's, she ain't believe nothing until she was like, Jay-Z on a record, where's your job?
Right.
And then I had to show her the check. She was like, oh, okay, it's for real.
Right.
Then.
You know what made my father believe? When he opened my check, what I got paid for Diplomatic Immunity, I did 11 records on there. So you know it was, you know what I mean? And that was the time when they was cutting checks. So it was good money. So when he opened up the envelope by accident thinking it was his, and he saw the dollar amount, he was like, he never said another word after that. We had a mutual understanding, like, you know what I mean?
I'm doing this.
Trust him. He knows what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? And we've been good ever since.
Man, that's dope as hell. That's a good segue because I wanted to talk about your background and what you grew up in a household listening to that allowed you to get to some of these records. I know that when I hear beats, me specifically, I hear a certain tone of how people grew up. Like, you know, some of my stuff came from my household having a lot of horns and a lot of, you know, just angry music. Then you hear like, you know, people that came up in a jazz influenced household and they'll have like, you know, Tribe Called Quest sound.
My house was strictly reggae music.
Yep.
I'm talking about Saturday Morning, David Levy. If it's not that, it's Beres Hammond, it's Garnet Silk, it's Sanchez, it's
classics.
You know what I'm saying? It's, of course, the Bob Marleys, you know what I mean? But it was everything, whatever you could think of. It wasn't just Bob Marley. It was every level of reggae artist my mother and father would play, and they had vinyls to it. I didn't get into hip hop because I grew up on reggae. I didn't get into hip hop until, and it's gonna sound bugged out, till like my sophomore year of high school. All I knew was reggae music. Because riding with my father, okay, I'm lying to you. If it wasn't reggae music, it was country music. Because, you know, for some reason, that era of Jamaicans loved reggae and country music. Like my father loved Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton.
Why do you think? Because it was like real music?
I don't know. And honestly, because I think a lot of the reggae songs used to redo popular, like, country songs, but turn them into reggae songs.
Got you. Okay.
So I think just
sense.
by default, they kind of, because of the lyrics, they loved it. You know what I'm saying? I think so.
Right, no, that makes sense. I was just thinking like, because there's a strong influence in hip hop with reggae and dancehall.
Yeah.
Just even in the early 90s, like we had like those type of records. Even I'm watching some of the
like Mad Lion, even though he was a reggae artist, but he was over hip hop beats.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? But the worlds have always collided.
Yeah.
And to me, there's no better way to almost guarantee a record getting played than to use reggae or West Indian elements.
Facts.
Yeah, because now you got this audience, and they come together like, you know, Dipset Anthem, Shatters. Oh yeah, I did for Fat Joe. And I did a record on Little Flip's album years ago. It was this old Leroy Smart reggae record. You know what I'm saying? I did a record for Khaled and Mavado and Vado, where I sampled Terra Fabulous. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've always thrown like reggae elements in my music. I feel like it's necessary, even down to the bass lines.
Yeah, I think that's what gave you an advantage because, I mean, if people know anything about dancehall reggae, it's not the easiest thing to sample if you don't know what you're doing. Like, we're not going to the store, we go get soul because we know what that is.
Right.
But when you're picking up a certain amount of reggae records or rhythms or whatever,
right,
like, you never know what you're going to get. Especially, you know, I was like trying to chop up some of it. It's like, man, you gotta have that type of brain.
You kind of got to know what you're looking for as you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you'll fall in love with the original record to the point that you think you can do something with it until you try. Then you're like, it's not as simple as I thought it was. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, that's a big fact.
So that's an art in itself.
Yeah, the drums and everything. I mean, I grew up DJing with a lot of rhythms and stuff, but I never ever was able to try to translate it right. You know what I mean? So let's skip into when you met Dipset. How did that happen? To
make a long story short, at the time, me and my people were, you know, we had ran into some money, and we had these artists that we were trying to put out. So we were trying to find somebody that could get the artist on the radio. So a friend of mine introduced us to a dude by the name of Renee McLean.
I know Renee. Yeah. Shout out to Renee.
Right, yeah, shout out to Renee. Renee was managing Cam at the time. So when we go sit with Renee to play the other artists, you know, we got jewelry on and shit. He's like, yo, what do y'all little niggas do? I said, yo, we produce. I got a CD. I gave him the CD. He said, yo, bet. I managed Cam. I let him hear it. There was 20 beats on that CD. 9 of those beats ended up on Diplomatic Immunity.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like the stars lining up, man.
Wow, so that was through Renee.
Yeah.
Did you actually get to meet them first before it came out, or how did that work out?
Yeah, we used to be in the studio and all that. Yeah, of course.
Okay. They just wound up using it. And
yeah, because we went to the studio to hear what they did with, like, at the time, what record was around? I'm Ready, I think More Than Music, Santana the Great, a lot, My Love. Just it was a bunch of records, you know what I'm saying? And we went in there just to listen to it. And then they ended up doing, the last 2 records we did was, I think, the DJ Enough Freestyle and Dipset Anthem were the last 2 records to make the album.
Bro, that's a perfect segue. We're here to do Dipset Anthem today.
Yeah.
What was the elements that you were thinking? Was it something like, man, I gotta make these guys something like,
I never
it's gonna
think
go
that.
radio, you just go make
I don't, yeah, like, you know how some producers might be like, I need this club record, or I need this this Pain record, or this underground, whatever the record is. I don't think like that. Whatever my vibe is for the day, whoever needs that vibe is gonna get it. I can't fake a feeling in the studio to make a beat that has that feeling if I don't feel that way. Like when I made Dipset Anthem, that was the vibe. It was like that upbeat, charged up energy, that was the vibe. When I made I'm Ready, and it was the low, like the kind of painful, soulful feel, that was my vibe. You know what I'm saying? I made I'm Ready, listened to it on repeat in my studio for like 2 hours by myself in the dark. Like, this shit is crazy, but who the fuck would rap to this? You know what I'm saying? Dipset Anthem was about to go in the garbage. My cousin walked in and said, yo, what was you making? I said, that's just some bullshit, I'm about to turn it off. He said, nigga, you're bugging. That shit is crazy.
That's wild.
And that's the only reason I kept it.
That's
Word to my
wild.
mother, that's the only reason. Because that was my 5th beat for the day. And you know, when you make a bunch of shit for the day, you start questioning yourself. Like, am I bugging, nigga? The shit sounds good, but I thought the other 4 sounded good too. So let me chill for a minute.
And come back the next day and listen to them,
Right.
make sure you get some magic out of it.
Right, and especially if you smoke a little bit too, sometimes you lie to yourself. Like, yo, this shit sound crazy, nigga, until you're not high no more. And you're like, what the fuck was this?
You're right.
You know
What the
what
fuck
I'm
was
saying?
you on, bro?
Right,
You smoked
so
too much.
I thought I was bugging. My cousin said, yo, you nigga, you're not bugging. That shit crazy.
That's
and
wild.
Thank him, man. I say this on a bunch of interviews, but thank him for that. You know what I mean?
Where'd you use the record shop?
I used to go down here to the spot called A1,
A1.
or Sound Library. And then they had this other spot near the Bronx in City Island. It was owned by this older white guy that was probably like about 90 something. But it was a huge spot with wall-to-wall records. You know what I'm saying? And I used to go there, get most of my shit. I think I got Postman from there. And the crazy part is he had like a huge selection: soul, reggae, alternative. Like he had a bunch of shit. But I only really had 3 main. It was that store. It was A1 and it was Sound Library.
You ain't fuck with rock and soul at all, none of them type of joints.
Well,
They were
rock
a lot of
is-
people was in those, so
Yeah, by the time I really got heavy into producing, the other record spots made more sense. Cause rock and soul was like new records in the front, the old records in the back. You had to dig through, like it was like a section this big of like old shit. You know what I'm saying? But the other stores, A1 and all that, you had a whole store full of just vintage vinyl. You know what I'm saying? Wall to wall. So I rather the selection of those spots.
I feel that. How competitive was that era when you first started for y'all?
Super competitive, man.
Super competitive. Who were some of the guys that came up around that time while you was working?
That we was like competing with around that time?
Yeah, not less so competing, but just what was
No,
the
but when I say
atmosphere?
competing, I don't even mean it in a negative way. I just mean it in the sense of competing to get on the same projects. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying?
Yeah.
Whether it was a Just Blaze, Kanye West around that time, Bink around that time. We talking about like Baseline and all of that. Buck Wild. There's a list of producers, man, but it was like, it's not like what it is now, where you send beats via email and niggas hit you back later.
It was a CD.
You was sitting there, I was sitting here, yo, who wanna go first? That's what it was. So if you had some fire, or if you didn't have fire, it showed in front of everybody. Now niggas get to hide behind emails. Send you a fucking zip file of trash through the, you know what I mean, through the internet. Before, you had to stand behind your work. You put your CD in. If niggas gonna tell you the shit was trash, if it was trash, and it's like you had to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of appreciated that era because it separated the men from the boys at that point. It wasn't like we had to guess who's who.
Yep. And you got the chance to hear everything and then hear everybody else's, and then people coming up to you like, yo, keep going, that shit is hard.
Right,
You know
and
what I mean?
consistency was key.
That's
Because if you played beats for artists today, there was another artist that needed music tomorrow, and you couldn't play him the same shit unless it fit his project or fit him or her.
Everybody needed all their own joints.
So you had to work at it, especially for like me. Like I had a sound that was synonymous with Dipset.
Yep.
So when I went to play beats for other artists, I almost had to step away from that sound to give them some other shit because they was like, I don't want shit that sound like Dipset shit. I want my own shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was like a struggle for me for the first 2 years because it was like, I can't understand what they listening to. Like all this shit is fire. Like why are they looking at it like it's just a Dipset thing?
Facts. Before we get into this, I'm gonna give you a trick question. This is gonna be a tough one. Who's your favorite MC, favorite artist, favorite rapper?
My favorite MC, and maybe this is just me being biased, is was God Rest the Dead, Fred the Godson. Was my
tough.
favorite MC.
Yeah, he was great.
My favorite rapper, and again, this is me being biased, but these are people that I work with on a regular basis that I know their skill level. My favorite rapper is Joel Ortiz. Rapper, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Big up Joel.
yeah, like he still surprises me in the studio with the shit that he raps about and how he does it and all that shit. And what was the last one?
So artist, rapper, and
Artist. I
MC.
didn't say artist, right?
Yep.
My favorite artist would have to be Jay-Z. I've just always been a fan of Jay-Z, you know what I mean? And the fact that he can rap about what he raps about and still be held in the regards that he's held in is like, that's crazy to me. Like, Jay came up off of rapping about street shit, and he's a multi-billionaire now.
Yep.
I don't think we put that into perspective and champion that enough. That shit is unheard of.
Yeah, I did an interview about Jay. Well, he asked me a question. I was on Rory and Maul. They were going Jay-Z versus other lyricists and other artists in the world.
Right.
And I said that Jay-Z is my favorite artist, but when I go around the world,
Right.
Eminem was the biggest thing.
Yes, I agree with that.
Any different place. When I went to Japan,
Right.
I even saw Ludacris before I saw Jay in
Right.
certain places. You know what I'm saying? So it always confused me because I'm like, man, here I am, this big Jay fan, but
Right.
I'm in Africa. I see Eminem and
But
Luda.
you know why that is, though.
For sure.
Yeah, you
For
understand,
sure.
like...
For sure. But I just wanted to know, like, because, you know, some people always, you know, fuck up what an MC and a rapper is.
Yeah, and
It's
I
two
know that.
different
I fully
things.
know the difference.
Yeah.
But and that's another reason why I give Jay so much credit, because he made the most out of the least.
Facts.
You understand? It's like
Facts.
he wasn't supposed to be in this spot based off of his lyrics and his body of work.
Real shit.
So
Real shit.
I got to give him all the credit in the world, man. That's definitely my favorite artist.
Real shit. Dipset Anthem. What's the original sample for this?
It's by an artist named Sanchez, reggae artist named Sanchez. The record's called 1 in a Million.
Being such a popular record in that culture, what made you like, man, I'm about to fuck this joint up?
It was really no thought process. Like I told you, my parents kept vinyl in the crib, like reggae vinyl. I grabbed a handful. As soon as I put the needle down on that part, I heard that. I said, yo, I got to do something with this.
So I'm rephrasing.
And that-
so were you the person that just picked up anything and just started chopping? Or you was the person like, oh man,
No, at that
I
stage,
can't touch that.
At that
because
stage
that's
in
a
my
hit.
career, yes, I was the person
Okay.
that grabbed whatever sample and just sampled it.
Oh, that's dope.
Because I was trying to get better.
That's dope.
So I just try to, okay, can I do something with this? Let me try. Can I do something with this? Let me try. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't much thought process put behind, should I use this, shouldn't I use this?
Right.
It was kind of like, it's here, the shit sound good, let's go. Now I put more thought behind it because, again, I know more, it's been more years, I'm more selective now. Back then it was like, I need anything. You got
Right.
records? Let me get them.
Facts.
I go to family members' house, let me get those records. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's different now because the way I even get samples now is different.
Right.
Straight digital.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Which is a whole different ball game. I used to actually enjoy digging for samples.
Yeah, I did
Going
too.
to the record store.
I just started getting back to it. Just going and buying stuff just to get my energy up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I got to get into that, but I don't even know where to go now.
Yeah, you gotta find out.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
I don't think-
and here's what the
somebody's
crazy.
basement.
I have dudes that send me at least 5 to 10 samples daily.
Yep.
Then I got another set of dudes from, I believe they're from Germany, that make samples for me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So the game is different now. It's not like before.
Yeah, nah, it is definitely different. What was your weapon of choice?
Before?
No, like while you were making these records.
Oh, MPC. But
Which,
the MP at the
3000,
time.
2000
No, it
XL?
was just the 2000 XL with the load up disc and all that shit.
Got you. Did you have keyboards? You have a Triton?
Yeah, I had a. Why everybody had a Triton, right? That's what it sounded like. I had a Triton,
whole
but
period.
I used it as a controller. I used to use I had sound modules. I used to use a Proteus 2000. I don't know if you remember that.
Proteus.
That's the
Classic.
best. That was the best bass in the game.
Classic.
That was the best bass in the game. Was in the Proteus. I had the Proteus. I had the Roland 5080. One of them.
5080.
5080. I had
JV
you had
5080,
you had the Roland 5080. I had the Proteus, and I had the low-fat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
that. So I had those 3 sound modules, and I kind of got busy with that, and I just used the Triton as a controller.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That big ass keyboard I use as a controller, but that's what it was back then because I didn't complicate my process.
That's right. That's right.
If this is what I did, this is what I did. I didn't try to switch it up from day to day.
So did you print out on CD? You did that or
CD.
tape? CD?
CD.
So
Well,
you-
tape early on, you know.
Yeah.
But then CD, when technology stepped up, CD, because it was stats, tapes, CDs, and then mini CDs and flash drives, and you know. But definitely, back then it was tapes and CDs.
An original Dipset Anthem beat was made in your mom's basement in the Bronx.
Yes. Yeah.
What's going on over there right now in that basement?
That basement actually just got remodeled and renovated like about 2 to 3 months ago.
Word.
But before that, I mean, obviously it was different from when I did the music there, but now it's something totally different.
Right, though, neighborhoods change, is the same vibe? Or
Yeah, the vibe is different in the neighborhood, of course. Around that time, you come by that crib, you're liable to see 15 to 20 niggas just chilling, 5 people inside, 10 people outside. I'm making music, niggas is gambling, playing NBA Live, whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? Like, I became comfortable in that environment.
Dope.
That's why, like, now, if I do sessions with, like, Jim, and Jim brings 15, 20 people to the studio, I feel comfortable in that because that's how I came up, like, making music amongst the chaos. Like, I kind of love that shit, you know what I'm saying?
Some people just want to be caged up.
Nah, I need real-time feedback.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you make something crazy enough, you can watch niggas' reaction right in front of you, like, oh shit, let me do that again. Like, let me add this and do that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you using them as the crash test dummy, like, hold on. Let me see if I can get this nigga to move and do some shit. Just, you know what I mean? That's what it is for me. So that's why I appreciate that environment, because amongst the chaos, you can notice certain shit like, okay, this is working. This ain't working.
That's real.
Niggas falling asleep. Niggas, you know what I'm saying?
That's real.
Yeah, so I like that environment.
Let's get to the original record. Let's play a piece of that. So
The piece of the original record?
Yeah.
Right, so this is a love song. That's what a lot of people don't know. It's originally a love song. Right? So you know, as a producer, your first train of thought is, whatever part you like, how can I keep that feeling going for however long I needed to go for, right?
Facts.
So my thing was, the first time I ever heard the record, this is the part that caught me, was just this. Right? That's the part that I like.
Crazy.
How do I keep that going? And again, I'm gonna tell you the crazy part. When you asked me to do this and I had to remake this beat, first I couldn't figure out what I did, right? Because I only have 2 chops in here as far as sample goes. It's this, right? And this part. That's it.
That's 2 chops?
That's it.
Yo.
So when I'm listening to the beat, I'm like, how did I make that beat out of 2 chops? But then I realized I had to get back
22-year-old me.
Right, I had to get back into the 22-year-old me. Like, wait a minute. I didn't know much about making music. What's the simplest way that I could approach this shit? So it was like, okay, cool. It was probably triggering this. Whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? But that's what it was. It was like, okay, trigger that, let the rest play out, then this last piece is on the turnaround. And then come right back to this. You know what I'm saying?
Usually when you got to figure stuff out like that, you have to be a rapper yourself, because you got to put yourself in the mindset of, how do I have these 12 bars, 16 bars?
Right.
Why is this the hook? Why would they like this? Because back then we don't got all the tricks that we can do to kind of like do it in Pro Tools like we do it now. We got.
And I'm gonna tell you how I thought, right? Because of the way Dipset used to rap, sometimes they would rap and let the sample finish the rest of the sentence, right? So in my head, when I'm making this, I'm like, I wanted to leave that singing part at the end of that little whoo, like I wanted to make sure that stayed in certain bars and then end it with the. You know what I'm saying? And then for a breakdown, come right back to... Because after you heard all the triggering and shit, you appreciate this more.
Crazy.
Because you're not hearing that too often. You're hearing... You know what I mean? Whatever it was, but that's what you're hearing.
What did your culture feel like that? Like, why was this significant, especially for you? You being born in Jamaica, coming up, How did they feel when that record came out? Dude, they was like, oh, he represented for the country.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie like a bunch of Jamaicans ran down on me like, yo, you saved Jamaica. I'm not gonna say that, but what I will say is, I know the Jamaicans that were Americanized that heard that, it gave them a certain sense of pride. It had to. Because it gives me a certain sense of pride knowing that I made that. You know what I mean? Because, again, like, I look at shit in a spiritual sense, in the sense of, when we're long gone, if we could create something that could outlive us, we did some shit. This record is going to outlive me, by far.
Yes.
You understand?
1,000%.
And just knowing I did that, I can sleep good at night. Like, you know what? Even if I never caught another one, I know how long this is going to live.
That's a fact.
This is actually bigger than the original record.
How old is this record?
The original?
No.
Dipset Anthem is, I made it in 02, so it's 22 years old. 22. Yeah.
22 years ago.
Yeah.
Still going.
I'm Ready in 01.
Any
That's
club you go in, if you're playing classics, you're playing that.
Yeah. And it got, I think it was XXL voted it number 23 on the top 50 greatest beat in hip hop history, which is, that's dope, man. To me, that's better than any award. That's like, amongst all the great shit that's come out, like, to have that at number 23 is like that's a blessing for me, man.
Yeah,
like
that's genius. And a lot of people be like, man, why you say genius so much? And I'm just saying, in this, genius comes from genuine. You know what I mean? The genuine state of yourself. When you're doing the best, excelling in the genuine state, that's what you call a genius.
Right.
It's not this extraterrestrial thought process.
And
it's
people
just,
don't understand there's genius in simplicity.
That's right.
Because again, like how we were talking, I had to put myself back in the 22-year-old mind frame. I'm like, the 22-year-old version of myself is not going to do nothing complicated. And that's why I won so much back then. Because I stopped thinking. It was like, use your natural God-given abilities and just make music and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? As you get older, you start to overthink shit. Like, maybe I should use this different snare and pitch it up to this and use this kick and layer it with this. It's like, no, nigga. You're doing too much. You're fucking up every move you make. You're fucking up the record more and more. And
overproducing. Right.
That's a lesson I had to learn over the years. Like, you know what? There's a huge difference between being a beat maker and a producer.
1,000%.
A beat maker's trying to make the hottest beat he could make with as many sounds as he could use, whatever the fuck it is. A producer's like, you know what? Take out 5 of those sounds. We don't need these shits. Because the artist still got it. It's too much. You understand? Like, you're a prime example of that. You probably started off as a beat maker. Now you produce for some of the biggest artists in the world because you understand the difference.
That's right.
A lot of people don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. I had to learn that. I learned it over the way. But that was the conversation piece where we were talking about people being in the room.
Right.
Once I learned how to navigate and say, oh, I wish you could do it like this.
And people being in the room helps you take criticism.
There you go.
Because if you play music just for yourself, and then when your boys come around, you like, yo, listen to this, and they like, nah, I don't really know how I feel about that. You're going to take it the wrong way. Like, man, this nigga's a hater, man. Fuck this nigga. But if you're constantly making music around people, you can read the room like, nah, this ain't really working. Let me try some other shit.
That's facts.
Niggas ain't moving. They ain't reacting the way I want them to react. You figure that out over time. A lot of people want to lock themselves in the studio and make 20 records only to figure out 19 of them ain't good.
That's real. That's real.
Keep people in the room with you, man.
That's right. Now to the hard part. This is where the memory works the best. This is the remake part. Right. Where we got to do it all from scratch. So I'm going to let you do your thing, and I'm just about to sit here and watch you do it. This the tough part.
First off, the tempo was always, it was in between 83 and a half. Don't ask me why it was 83 and a half, but it was 83 and a half.
That's important, though.
Yeah, so the beginning of the beat, not the beginning, but the trigger is the important part.
Right.
So if that's not the right melody, then it sounds off. So you kind of got to catch it with the timing and everything. Oh shit, hold on.
It's hard because in between.
Yeah, because I know I didn't do it manually before. I triggered it before, but when I did it before, it was almost like an accident. How did I do this shit?
That's it.
Okay, last one. Let me fix that last one. fucking fingers don't work like when I was 22.
This is the process. That's what I love about it.
Let's see.
That's always the hard part too, getting the drum pattern.
Now the drum pad is the easiest part for me. Is this? It's just catching this little last part. I triggered this. It comes in on like off time in this last piece.
Ooh, you might have caught it right there. That's it. Scratched.
Then we go into another sequence that try. Yeah, so now we gotta get some bass and just add this extra sequence of just that turnaround.
Big classic.
We figured it out, my friend.
Always do.
All right, let's get some bass involved, man. And you know what's crazy, man? I know people watching this like, yo, this shit is simple as fuck. Yes.
It's supposed to be.
But that's what fucks my mind up. It's because it's so simple. Almost like in my head, I'm trying to complicate it. Because I can't believe that that was made that simple. You know what I'm saying? It's like you look back now and you're like, this is one of my biggest records and I did the least.
It's always like that.
Honestly, today taught myself a lesson. I might have to just really like go back to the basics, man. Just because I know how to do all this other shit, don't mean I need to use those tools all the time.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's real. When I'm in the club, I try not to over scratch.
Right.
I try not to do that. So that's
Right.
what happens when I'm in the, the beat mode now. It's just like, don't put a lot in there.
Right.
The most important instrument is there, and that's the voice. So I gotta wait for that.
And obviously, when I first did it, I had the Proteus bass line. That's what I used, but I don't have the Proteus.
When did you
anymore.
give up on the Proteus?
When I started getting into VSTs, you know
What
what
was
I mean?
your first joint? You want the Logic first when you went to the computer, or what you
No,
go to first?
I've always obviously stuck with the MP, but Studio One was straight from just using the MP and
Yep.
sound modules to the MP bringing it into Studio One.
Got you. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then loading up my VSTs through Studio One.
Got you.
I haven't checked, but I'm sure They gotta have some type of Proteus plugin.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Yeah, for sure.
I need that.
Everybody makes that.
Cause that's the best. To me, that's the best bass line I've ever come across on any machine. Was the Proteus.
Proteus is great.
I hate to make it sound like this, but this beat is so simplistic when you really think about it, because other than a bass line, the only other outside sound that I had was at the time I put like a scream in there. I don't even know if people really heard it, but it was like during the turnaround I had like a sample of like a chick screaming that it used to be in the Roland. The Roland just had like a bank of weird sounds, screaming, talking, whatever, and I took some screaming and put it in there in a bass line. The beat was done. I didn't even know if I liked it at the time. I just knew it didn't need nothing else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My cousin's the one convinced me I liked it, but he liked it. But the drum program a little different before I gotta remember. Because now that bass is it and I can hear the difference. There it is. Missing a kick. Now I want to do some dumb shit at that.
Yeah, a whole new pattern. I was fine though.
Most of this shit is complete. It's just really the breaks. It's that drop that I had at the beginning, and that obviously when I put it in the Pro Tools, I sequence it like that. But for the most part, the meat and potatoes of the beat is what you're hearing.
Who mixed the record?
Ebo.
Okay.
Him and Guru mixed most of that album.
Were you part of the mixing process, or you just let them
I didn't
do
know.
their thing?
I wasn't. I don't even gonna sit here in front. Like, I was so new that I wouldn't have added anything to the mixing process.
Gotcha.
I didn't know enough at that time. You know what I'm saying? It's like the version of me now. Yes, I know all of that shit. But back then, me being a part of the mix would just be to learn. It wasn't like I added any input. Like, yo, make the snare sound. I didn't know enough around that time. You know what I'm saying? But as the years passed, I realized how important it is for me to actually be at the, if I'm not mixing it myself nowadays, but if somebody else is mixing a record, I'm particular about that shit, man, because at the end of the day, I can give you a record and you can give me something back that sounds like something I don't even recognize.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? To me, the sign of a great mix engineer is taking what you give, is taking what he was given or she was given and just enhancing the shit.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Not trying to do your own tricks and, yo, I thought it sounded better if I did this. No, just enhance what I gave you. You know what I'm saying?
Real talk.
I'm gonna keep it 100% honest. First of all, you know your show, the show's dope, right? All y'all producer niggas that call yourself producers that I might even be fans of. If I don't see you doing this, your word don't mean nothing to me. You gotta show me this. Niggas call themselves producers and give orders. This ain't that. This ain't this show. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? You gotta get busy. Oh yeah, I fucked up putting this together. I get all of that. But I did this.
That's right.
You can't take that from me. I can show you the original disc. Regardless if I struggle to put it back together, whatever it is, what it is. It's 22 years old. That's supposed to happen.
That's right.
For some of y'all other niggas,
Preach.
if y'all niggas ain't sitting behind one of these, not just this, nigga, I don't mean this. I don't mean this. This, nigga, sit behind one of these, niggas. This, an ASR 10 like my man Cannon got, behind a SP 1200, behind a, I don't give a fuck what it is. If I don't see y'all niggas behind this, triggering the buttons and putting shit together, don't call yourself a producer around me.
Woo! Talk that shit.
It's a fact though, right?
Talk that shit.
Like how many hours you sat behind your machine and figured shit out?
More than the 10,000 they said I needed.
So you already know what I'm trying to say. If I don't see y'all niggas on this show doing this, we can't have no conversations.
And that's the fucking truth.
It's a fact.
And that's it. BackTrak, Rsonist, Cannon. You know what it is.
Bro.
That note.